let's chat about the United States women's national team roster ahead of this first match tonight. Maybe let's run down things for the folks who are joining us for the first time in case you've missed our roster reaction, in case you're joining us right now after the break. This is who the United States is running with. 24 players in New Zealand. Goalkeepers, 3 goalkeepers on the roster: Adriana French, Casey Murphy, Alyssa Nair for the goalkeepers. Defenders: Alana Cook, Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Sophia Huerta, Haley Mace, Becky Sauerbrunn, and Emily Sonnet. For midfielders: Sam Coffey, Lindsay Horan, Taylor Korniak, Rose Lavelle, Christy Mewis, Ashley Sanchez, and Andy Sullivan. And for the forward core, we've got Ashley Hatch, Alex Morgan, Mitch Purse, Trinity Rodman, Mallory Swanson, formerly Pugh, and Lynn Williams. Maybe let's talk about the main absences and the return here for some folks. Lisa, no Megan Rapinoe, no Sophia Smith for this round of friendlies, both out navigating some injuries, which Andonovski touched on and said that they aren't deep, serious, concerning injuries, just need a little bit more time to maybe get acclimated and recover from previous matches. But in light of their absences, we've seen the return of some other players: Emily Sonnet making her return to this roster, and Lynn Williams featuring once more on the United States women's national team roster as well.
Yeah, both Emily Sonnet, defender, and forward Lynn Williams coming back from injury. So it's not that they were left out of the roster due to anything performance-wise or things like that. And same for Megan Rapinoe and Sophia Smith. They are not left out for performance. It's due to minor injuries that they're suffering right now. So why travel them to New Zealand? Vlatko Andonovski said, hey, stay where you are with your team doctors, training and rehabbing where you are. But I think the loss of Megan Rapinoe and Sophia Smith is significant. Maybe not for the competition on the pitch, but for the molding of this team, right? I mean, I imagine that Sophia Smith and Megan Rapinoe are going to the World Cup. Vlatko Andonovski, I also think he thinks that they are going to the World Cup, barring any injuries or major absences. However, to not have them there as they make this trip in this first journey, it's definitely a bit of a loss. I mean, you think of Sophia Smith, she started the last game against New Zealand. She's been a very consistent starter for this women's national team, scoring the most goals last year for them at just 22 years old. This is a player that you want in and around the team as often as you can. And Megan Rapinoe brings that veteran leadership ability, the locker room presence that she has, the ability to have game management coming in the last 15 minutes of a game. I think those are big losses for this U.S. side, but we also have to think of the gains, and not like for like gains at all. Emily Sonnet, defender, coming in. She's now with OL Reign, traded during the NWSL draft last week. Still getting used to saying that. And forward Lynn Williams, who is also now with Gotham, another trade that happened during the draft last week, but not like for like trades. Lynn Williams, another forward coming in, but very different than Sophia Smith and Megan Rapinoe. I think with Lynn Williams, I'm hoping that she gets a good run out of it. We did not see her during the NWSL end of the season. For Casey, they went on a championship run, losing in the final to Portland Thorns, and Lynn Williams was warming up during that game, but she has yet to play a game in a significant amount of time. And you have to start incorporating her back into the roster, getting game minutes, getting game fit. So I'm hoping we see significant time from a player like Lynn Williams. Also back on this roster that has been out, a player like forward Ashley Hatch with Washington Spirit. She was in the CONCACAF W Championship, hurt her back, ended up leaving early from that championship. She's now back on this roster, as is Gotham forward Midge Purse back on this roster after hitting a little bit of a decline in her performance, and that's why she wasn't called back in, but she is brought in along with Ashley Hatch to kind of round out the 24-player roster. So, Sandra, for you, between I'm going to say these new forwards coming in, right? Lynn Williams, Ashley Hatch, Midge Purse. Which of those three do you want to see get significant minutes in this friendly?
Look, these are the first matches of 2023, and I would venture to say that these are maybe the pair of matches for some players to really continue to leave that impression with the coaching staff, because I would anticipate that the picture will become more clear and more clearer and clearer down the stretch of these future international windows for the player pool to be narrowed down to who we're actually likely going to see named to that 2023 World Cup roster. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see something similar
Mhm.
within this front line that we saw in the She Believes Cup during 2022. I wouldn't mind seeing Midge Purse get another run out against a team like New Zealand. We also don't know what the minutes management might look like for a player like Lynn Williams. So when I'm
Yeah.
looking at you're asking me about just the forward core here. So when I'm looking at that, do I want to see Lynn Williams get time against this New Zealand side? 100%. Absolutely. I'm just unclear of what that's going to look like. This is a
Right.
player that hasn't played 90 minutes over the last year or so. So I would anticipate that there's perhaps going to be a little bit of just sort of working her way back in. What's that going to look like? Is it going to look like 15 minutes off of the bench? Is it going to be a half hour in the second half? Is it going to be a full 45-minute shift? I don't know. We'll see, but I will be surprised if it's a full 90. But I would like to see it if she's capable and healthy and ready to go. I would like to see it. But I think you want to see where Purse is at. I think sort of looking at how her 2022 ended, tough season, I think, for her. I would hope that some of the off season, provided her some rest, relaxation, opportunity
Yeah.
to rehab and perhaps nurse any lingering injuries that might have, been affecting her over the course of 2022, because she's someone that I think could be a real asset to this team in their march to the World Cup. So while we saw an absence of Lynn Williams, we got to see Sophia Smith go on this incredible 2022 run. We got to see Mallory Swanson continue her development, back in the picture. And I'm just thinking back to that She Believes Cup, how Mal Pugh really started a similar journey, back in with this team. Someone who had also
Mhm.
been absent, didn't go to the Olympics in Tokyo, and sort of has had to work her way back into this roster
Yeah.
as well. So I won't be surprised if we're going to see a combination of Swanson and Morgan to get the start, but who is going to be that opposite winger? Who is going to get that opportunity? And I just don't anticipate that it's going to be somebody like Hatch, just because of how she's been utilized before with this coaching staff. I really want to see Trinity Rodman get extended
Yeah.
minutes this time as well. I think that's it. Who are you going to run Trinity Rodman out against if not a team like New Zealand? This is a player that Andonovski has said before in the past that they want to get her acclimated to the team in certain steps. But at this point, I feel like
Mhm.
she's been a part of enough national team camps. She's had enough experiences in that capacity, just being with the team, navigating senior women's national team responsibilities as a professional. Let's get her those minutes to match up
Yeah.
with that. I want to see her get a run out against New Zealand.
I think Trinity Rodman deserves to get minutes. I'm right there alongside of you. She's got 10 caps, 2 goals with the senior national team. I think that she has been involved a lot and not reaped a lot of the rewards in terms of minutes. She really hasn't. She's been that reserve player coming in off the bench late in games. I think that she's been consistently in these camps and consistently performing. Otherwise, why would she be considered back in and continued back into it? I agree. I really want to see Trinity Rodman get a run, especially in the absence of Sophia Smith, right? This is a player that I think could make a difference. This is her time. Give her a chance. Give her a moment at this point. So for you and for me, I want to kind of run through some of our lineups and what we're thinking with this front line and starting wise. I think it's going to be Mallory Swanson up top. I think we are also going to see Alex Morgan. I'm not sure if Trinity Rodman's going to get the start. I think she deserves it, but I just don't know at this point. I really don't. I don't think Ashley Hatch would get the start either. I don't think Purse and Lynn Williams on minute restriction, maybe he could say start her. Like, that's the thing with minute restrictions. It's either you're going right after the warm-ups, so your body's warm and you're ready to go, or you're being reserved until the last 20 minutes. So I'm going to give it a toss-up between Rodman and Williams for that third starting nod. But the formation of it is going to be a little interesting, I think, in terms of Morgan and Rodman. Like, I want Rodman out on the wing, but could Vlatko Andonovski throw her centrally?
No, we're talking about look, we're not going to see it. Not at this point.
I know.
I don't would I love to see some, tactical or formational changes for this team in their build up to this World Cup? Yeah. Of course, 100%. I think you and I specifically were already talking about that when this team was getting ready to go to Europe. What are we going to see against some of these other teams, the other teams who are considered favorites going into a World Cup? Are we going to see this team, this coaching staff specifically, present different game plans or different responsibilities to these players? And we didn't necessarily see that coming out of those final matches. We saw a snippet of it perhaps in that final game to snap that losing streak, where we finally saw Lindsey Horan allowed to kind of just be the 8 and just sort of go out there and present some things, and it looked a little bit better. But we also have to remember that during that win in which they snapped that streak, Germany was missing Lena Oberdorf, so it opened up some things dramatically for the United States. You got to
Let's not forget Lena Oberdorf was not there.
We just got to keep things in perspective. So while we can, maybe try to throw around some and have some fun with the forward core, I think we also have to maybe take a look at this midfield and what we could see, out there on the pitch against New Zealand, because I don't anticipate we're going to see this team move away from their 4-3-3.
Either. I don't either. Yeah, I think that at this point, it's too late to be changing formations, and we would have already seen it. There's been plenty of opportunity for Vlatko Andonovski to try different things and throw it out there. I'm with you completely. It's going to be a 4-3-3 from now until through the World Cup, right? Barring any major changes or injuries or things that happen, we're going to see a 4-3-3 from Vlatko Andonovski. And I think I'm hoping that it's Rodman up top with Swanson and Morgan. I mean, I think that's what we can expect for tonight. And then for the second game, I mean, we'll talk about that when we get there, but I do still want to see Williams get in there, and I think we could see Purse maybe get a nod at the start as well, as someone who's been working back into it. But yeah, I'm with you on a 4-3-3. And
100%.
and as you said, you don't think you're going to see a big rotation in the formation. I also don't think we're going to see that many shakeups in the midfield either, with the 7 players that Vlatko Andonovski has called in Sam Coffey, Lindsey Horan, Taylor Korniak, Rose Lavelle, Christy Mewis, Ashley Sanchez, and Andy Sullivan. It's been Andy Sullivan, Lindsey Horan, and Rose Lavelle. I could see maybe a Sam Coffey instead of Andy Sullivan, and I would love to see that. I would love to see Sam Coffey get the start in the midfield alongside Rose and Lindsey Horan, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to see it. I could see him sticking with Andy Sullivan.
I mean, if we're talking about manifesting a start for Rodman or some good chunks of minutes for Williams, why not do the same for somebody like a Sam Coffey? I think this is the opposition to do that. I think if you're still in those small pockets of evaluation for specific players on this roster, mainly the younger ones, the ones who have had less time in the national senior women's national team program, that these are those matches to go ahead and do that, because I would anticipate that on the horizon with the She Believes Cup coming up in 2023 in February, with opposition like Japan, I believe Brazil, Canada, you're going to try to get looks for players who are likely going to be part of that World Cup roster. So I'm hopeful. Again, I could be just, completely swinging for the stars here, but I'm hopeful that this pair of friendlies will provide opportunity to see those extended minutes for a player like Rodman, or even for somebody like a Sam Coffey, especially in light of, recent comments from Andonovski about the future of this midfield, no longer wanting to really touch on the very long and lingering knee injury for Sam Mewis.
Sad.
Not wanting to comment on that. I think, you're putting enough out there to sort of say, like, don't ask me about this player. Sam Mewis going on her own podcast saying that when she's ready, she'll talk about her injuries. So I think at that point, you just sort of have to perhaps try to piece two things together, and at the very least give the player her privacy as she continues to navigate her own personal questions about her career, and just look at this midfield core in front of you and try to, if anywhere else positionally on this pitch, not the back line, perhaps not even your front line, it's maybe this middle third of the pitch where we need to see something by the coaching staff for these players moving forward.
Yeah, I think the touching on Sam Mewis and her injury, I completely agree. I mean, give the player privacy. Think of it from her perspective. This is her career. This is her passion. This is her job, and she can't do it. It's probably not that easy on her, but I think it's important to kind of reiterate what Vlatko Andonovski said, that it's a long-term injury. He didn't want to go into details. He didn't want to comment on the timeline or her possible return or anything like that. So you have to look at what's in front of you. And I think that getting consistency with these players, and not just consistency in minutes, but minutes on the pitch together, right? Playing alongside certain groups that he could see them with. And I think it kind of coupled along with the front line of this United States women's national team, right? If you're expecting to see Swanson and Morgan getting consistent minutes in that front line moving forward throughout the World Cup, who's going to be playing underneath them? I think it's really important to look at the 10. That's someone that feeds passes through, and between Lavelle and Herrera, they've got a lot of experience playing with Swanson, Smith, and Morgan up top. But what about a player like Sam Coffey? Can we get her more minutes? Can we see how that rotation looks? What it looks like defensively when Rose Lavelle is in there and there is a wide open attack, perhaps like we're going to see against New Zealand, and Lavelle has the freedom to run, really push and stretch high. Do we see Herrera sit a little deeper and play alongside Coffey, almost looking like a double six, but not so much, still pressed up higher? Or do we see Herrera stretching, and then it's the Andy Sullivan alone back there, or Sam Coffey alone as that number 6 sitting in front of the 2 center backs? I think those are the questions that Vlatko Andonovski and U.S. women's national team fans need to be looking at, how the fluidity of the midfield works against different opposition and with different players in there, because it's going to look different with Andy Sullivan and it's going to look different with Sam Coffey.
The double pivot. Will we ever see you?
I don't think we're going to see a real double pivot. I don't, but there are moments and times where I think against really strong attacking opposition, we will see what looks to be a double pivot in the defensive formation for the United States.
So for this first game, let's just maybe focus in on this one, because this is the preview for this match. When we're looking at 3 midfielders in this part of the pitch, do you see any breakaway from what we've already seen from Andonovski and this coaching staff, or is it going to just be Sullivan, Herrera, Lavelle?
Yeah, I think it's going to be that, honestly. I would love to see Coffey in there instead of Sullivan for at least a start, but it's going to be Herrera, Lavelle, and Sullivan.
I agree. I would hope that with the second game on the horizon and the quick turnaround of it all, and all of this sort of mirroring, a group stage in the World Cup, that we'll see rotation, and maybe we'll see Sam Coffey get extended minutes in a January camp window like this. But I think for this first game, I think you're running with the players that you've been running with at this point. And I think the same could be said perhaps for the defenders and the goalkeepers. Listen, there's 2 games here. I want to start for Adriana Franch. I want to start for Casey Murphy. But there's also part of me that's like, listen, these are the first games of 2023. Are you really not going to start Alyssa Nair, your number one goalkeeper? So I'm interested in what we might see there in the goalkeeper position. Will we just see some of the non-number ones get full 90-minute games, or are we going to look at these 45-minute split shifts? I don't know. That's TBD. When we're looking at this defensive unit, the back line, listen, we've also seen a lot of usual suspects typically called in and tabbed with the start. We've seen Sofia Huerta get nabbed on that outside back role. We've seen some interesting things in the center back position. That is an area in which they've had to try some different things out in light of players kind of coming in and out with injury over the course of 2022. Becky Sauerbrunn was missing for that early phase of 2022. Abby Dahlkemper eventually making her exit, navigating injury and recently recovering from back surgery. But we got to see the rise of Naomi Girma. Tierna Davidson not on this roster, close, but not enough for this New Zealand camp. When you're looking at that back line, who do you want to see out in this game tonight?
US is also missing Kelly O'Hara at this point, dealing with a bit of an injury herself. So she's not listed in these 8 defenders. With the ones called in, Alana Cook, Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Sofia Huerta, Haley Mace, Becky Sauerbrunn, and Emily Sonnet, I think we're going to see a little bit of consistency here. I'm going to go with Fox, Girma, Cook, and Huerta across the back line. I didn't start Becky Sauerbrunn. I think that also with goalkeepers, I think we're going to see Alyssa Nair. I do. I would love to get a start for AD French and Casey Murphy, but I think if they're just splitting games, it'll be Alyssa Nair and AD French. Unfortunate for Casey Murphy, but hey, you never know. We'll see what happens. But with the 4 backs, the 4 defenders, I think Vlatko Andonovski needs to give a chance for Girma and Cook to develop that relationship a little bit more. Yes, Tierna Davidson is on the verge of returning, but she's on the verge of returning to contact play, not gameplay. Like, she might still be a little bit far out. I'm hoping for She Believes she's at least getting minutes in those matches, but it's going to be minute restriction at that point. So I don't think you can bank on a player like Tierna Davidson coming back and being your starting center back for the World Cup. I don't at this point. I think you have to lean on someone like a Girma to be in that role consistently. And then between Sauerbrunn and Cook, I honestly think it's a bit of a toss-up. You know what you're going to get from Becky Sauerbrunn day in and day out, and you pair her alongside someone like a Girma. I love that partnership. They balance each other really, really well. Becky Sauerbrunn can break lines with her passes. Naomi Girma can also do that. Their 1v1 defending is phenomenal. It's a really nice balance, but you also have to look at someone like an Alana Cook that I think had ups and downs throughout 2022 and wasn't as consistent as you need your center back to be. But that's a natural progression for someone like Becky Sauerbrunn, who might be seeing fewer and fewer minutes as this team moves forward. So I'm thinking he starts there with Cook and Girma as the center backs, and then Emily Fox and Sofia Huerta outside.
Okay. I think it's interesting to hear you say that, because I am very curious about where they're going to utilize and how they're going to utilize Crystal Dunn over the course of these 2 friendlies. We really saw her bring it on in the end of 2022. She got back into national team camps with the national team right around September. But when it came to getting match minutes for club with Portland Thorns, she was definitely still building back to match day minutes. So we saw her in this sort of off the bench option capacity. And oh my God, like the impact that she had for that team down the stretch, scoring that game winner in their semifinal for the Thorns, punching their ticket through to the NWSL championship final, and then obviously lifting the championship with them out in DC. But again, only seeing these off the bench late in the game, second half minutes, just probably because she is herself still trying to get acclimated to being back in with the team. She has said that she wants to work on that, ensure that her fitness is there, ensure that she can go 90 minutes. So I'm curious if over the course of these 2 games, taking a look at Crystal Dunn, because I would anticipate if she is at least at 45 minutes, if she's able to give you 45 minutes, that you give her 45 minutes somewhere in one of these 2 games. Now, I don't know if that's going to be at the start. I don't know if that's going to be at the second half to come on in.
I don't think we see Crystal Dunn start. I don't think we see her start.
But
I
for
don't
me,
think.
I think
Yeah.
we do see her get extended minutes in these two
Okay.
friendlies. I don't know if we get it like I'm with you. I
Over
don't know who she
someone
could
like
start.
an Emily Fox.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
That's Crystal Dunn's position. That look, I know that's like taboo to say, but that's her position. You know, we want to see different things for this team moving forward. We've talked about pushing up Crystal Dunn higher into that middle third, even
Not
along the
happening.
front line if needed. But because of the coaching staff and the game plans that they have presented for this team moving forward, it hasn't shown or indicated to me that they are interested in utilizing Dunn in any of those positions. And I think if she is able to continue to work on getting her minutes up with this team, that we'll eventually see her back with this team getting those starts at that position.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are certain players on this roster where there's going to be narrow windows for them to continue to leave a lasting impression on this coaching staff. And I think if you are somebody like an Emily Fox or a Haley Mace or even a Sofia Huerta, that you want to put in good shifts over the course of these very early friendlies, because I think as Crystal Dunn continues to get back into form, someone is getting rotated out.
Yeah, I think I want to comment on that because Crystal Dunn is, I agree, the left back of the last decade for this United States women's national team. And I think that Emily Fox has stepped in and played that role very well, very differently than Crystal Dunn, but very well over the last year and a half, 2 years for this women's national team. And Crystal Dunn has worked her ass off to come back. And we saw it with Portland Thorns, as you mentioned, scoring game-winning goals throughout the playoffs, being an incredible and influential part of that Portland Thorns NWSL championship run. However, I still have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth when we saw Crystal Dunn with the U.S. women's national team against Germany, and she fell asleep on the back post, and Germany ended up scoring a goal against Dunn. She fell asleep. She didn't pick up her mark, and that was that. It was very obvious to see throughout the run of that play and on the replay of that goal for Germany. And that was something that was incredibly uncharacteristic of Crystal Dunn. I have never seen her do anything like that before. And because of that, I don't think we're going to see her get a start, just because of still working her way back. And a mistake like that in a World Cup year will cost you a World Cup. And I think that that's something that needs to be looked at incredibly carefully. Crystal Dunn deserves time to play. She deserves minutes. She deserves, I think you said 30 minutes. I am all for that. I don't think she's getting the start, though. I think that we will see her rotated in perhaps around the hour mark for someone like an Emily Fox in that outside left back position, with the consistency that Fox has shown over the last couple years or last year or so, and playing alongside someone like Girma in that center back role. They've developed a bit of a partnership between those two as well. I think for Dunn, we'll see her. I don't think we'll see Dunn get starts, though. Not yet.
Fair enough. Three. Let's close it out. 3 players we absolutely want to see get time over the course of these 2 friendlies. I'm gonna go with Adie French. I'm gonna go with Crystal Dunn. I'm gonna go with Lynn Williams. I want to see these 3 players back in the mix, getting extended minutes with this team against New Zealand. How about you, Lisa? Give me 3 players.
Oh, I love that. I am going to go with Sam Coffey. I really want Sam Coffey to get minutes. Lynn Williams and Trinity Rodman. Those are 3 that I want to get significant minutes. I think that they are going to help build this team onto the future and be that 3-peat team in a World Cup year.
I love it. Let's hopefully see that for all 6 of these players that we just dropped. That's going to be a wrap here for us at A3. Remember, you can catch the United States women's national team versus New Zealand tonight, Tuesday, January 7th, kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to HBO Max. You can catch the game on there, or you can catch it on Telemundo in Español. I know where I'll be watching